Sir, if you can hear me, you may need to call back if you use like a hearing here. Just give us a call back.
All right. Hi, everybody. It is early Friday evening, June the 6th. Specifically, the start of this live stream is around 6:40, about 6:41 on this Friday evening. Just in case you're watching this recorded, this was live early Friday evening. And we're going to go for a little while to track the storms currently over our viewing area. Still a couple of more warnings have just been issued, severe thunderstorm warnings. And then we'll focus on what will happen later on into the night, potentially. Kind of conditional based on how much energy these storms have used. Will those storms redevelop to the north and west? That's the big question for late night into the overnight hours, but we'll continue tracking these for you, and we'll have other future live streams coming up. Just want to let you know that if you're watching this recorded, because I know a lot of people do. We keep it archived on my YouTube page and also on Facebook. If for some reason it comes across your feed later, I just want you to know the time this is posted and not currently if you're watching it at a later time. All right? All right, so tomorrow's forecast is basically about the same thing. I don't see it raining all day. In fact, I see a large part of Saturday with some sunshine, hot, humid. You can go to the pool, you go to the lake. However, afternoon and evening, be aware that storms could develop like we had today, and they can be pretty nasty. So you definitely want to have that Storm Track 9 app handy. Make sure your location services are turned on. It'll get you those alerts. And you also keep an eye on the radar if storms draw closer. And as I always say, with lightning being the biggest threat, when thunder roars, head indoors. All right, let's take a look at what's happening out there with the scattered storms. There's a new warning that's been expanded for Polk County. It was this warning that was over Bradley County for the storm. It's the leading edge storm. And then, of course, you've got the line back behind it. But this is extended for a larger part of Polk County. And this is going to be out until 7:30 Eastern time, specifically for southern Bradley, southwestern Polk, and southeastern Hamilton. It's for that southern part of the line, from Cleveland, which really stretches down to Varnell. So similar conditions in the northern part of Whitfield and eventually Murray County. It is moving east at 35, 60 mile an hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail potentially with that line as it moves to the east there. I can move that out of the way real quickly. Let's just exit that out. But you can see the stretch of the polygon right there. So you got one cell, which was once severe warning. It's now kind of fading out. In around Parksville Lake, and then you got this line advancing to the east around 35. So it's going to be difficult to track. I'll show you why. I'm going to show you the tracker, but I'm not tracking this one. I'm tracking this line here when that potential with some stronger wind gusts approaches. But we'll go from near Calhoun to Cleveland all the way down here, moving east at 35. This is the estimate timeline here. Ocoee, next few minutes. Etowah, around 7:04. Grassy Creek, around 7:19 Eastern. And then you got Hot House onto Cherokee County around 7:40 Eastern time. So that represents that line moving on in. A lot of lightning there in southern Bradley. So that area from Cleveland down to northern Whitfield, you've got this portion of that line under severe thunderstorm warning out till 7:30, which does stretch into Polk County. Let's take a closer look inside that line, shall we? We're going to look at the velocity scan with this. We're going to switch the radar to show you the velocity. I'm going to do it this way. I think the scope is better because I can get inside that polygon there, right there. There we go. And you can see deep red lining up there. You know, about an hour ago, we were on air. There's a little bit of broad rotation with that cell that moved into Polk, kind of faded out, but seeing some straight line wind gusts along this line right there. Let's take a closer look at that. And right along Tennessee Highway 60, you just take a look at some of these pockets here. That deep red indicates wind gusts around 40. Brighter red, a little stronger potentially. That's some wind gusts up to 43. So we're seeing winds above the surface into that 40, but there's that potential for upwards of 58 to 60, which is, again, is severe levels. So very windy there right along Highway 60 in Bradley County, moving eastward toward the county line at about 35 miles an hour. So it'll be crossing over the 411 area about the next 10, 15 minutes. Let's go a little farther south. Even though you're not in the warning, let's take a look at the winds there and then around just east of Varnell. You can still see some pockets there. Very heavy, strong wind gusts right in there. And again, if you just take a look at some of these, you can still see some gusts still in that 40-mile-an-hour range. They did just put out an advisory here for the storm. You can still see along that line, 30, 35, so upwards around 40. But there's a new advisory, and it's for a step below a warning. This is put out by Peachtree City, but it just shows a special weather statement for that line moving eastward out till 7:15 across Fannin, Murray, and Whitfield, the same storm we're talking about. Moving east at 25, wind estimate there up to 40 miles an hour. So again, those gusts did appear to be stronger on the Bradley County part of that line, not over the Fannin and Murray, but still 30 to 40. It's still bringing down a tree limb, bringing down a tree. So definitely want to stay inside, let that storm pass by. Movement with that one is east at about 25 miles an hour. So I'll track that southern portion for you. We'll track that leading edge there. East at 25. We'll keep this area right along just south of the state line there. You can see Cisco around 6:58. Crandall around 7:01, top of the hour. Hassler's Mill, 7:15. And Patterson's Mill, eastern, far eastern Polk County, around 7:38 Eastern time. A little windy, a little rain, a lot of lightning. But again, the warning out right now is for this particular line right here. Very strong wind gusts with that. Right along Tennessee Highway 60 or up to 60 and 411. And you see the movement there. This is out until 7:30 Eastern time. So it's not this cell that's being warned, even though it's already raining and lightning south of 64 in Polk County. It is this line. Just about to trend east of Cleveland, but you can see that line moving eastward rather rapidly. Let's take a look inside this line between Cleveland and Calhoun, Tennessee. Yeah, you can see some really strong wind gusts there. This is even outside the polygon warning. Just east of Cleveland, you got some gusts in that 40-mile-an-hour range. Same thing right along 75. So winds above the surface are pretty strong with this moving on by. That particular part from Calhoun, Tennessee to Cleveland, Tennessee, not under the warning, but still some very strong winds that are going to be heading into southern parts of McMinn. And then the northern part of Polk near Benton, that's not under that warning. Northward toward Athens. Boy, it's noisy out there, isn't it? Not under a warning, but very heavy rain, a lot of lightning. And that stretches just south of Nyota, Athens, Inglewood area to around 411 here. Very heavy rain. A lot of lightning here from Decatur up to Tranquility and just to the southwest of Union Grove. You got Clearwater, Athens getting some very heavy rain. This was once a severe warned storm as it approached and moved over northern Hamilton, but it's now kind of breaking up a bit. It still possesses the chance for some strong gusts, but no longer severe. But for a while in this area, Dayton, Sale Creek, and southern Meigs and parts of southwestern McMinn, there was a warning out, but it's kind of moved on away. So the only warning locally is for the line that's over southern Bradley and central Polk. There's a bit of a break coming up for Chattanooga. So if you have any evening plans, a little wet out there, but for the next couple of hours, it's okay. All this is now exiting off to the east and northeast, this general direction like this. And you can see the upper level wind flow. I got noted here in the background. This is the steering flow aloft. Now, this is not the only line of storms through the night, okay? The next area we're watching is back in here, okay? Hailstorms are starting to percolate right in here. So let me pause this a second. So the storm's over us now through just after 8 o'clock. It's going to be this cluster of storms here, okay? What we'll be watching for late evening, say 10 p.m., midnight, and just shortly after midnight will be if all of this holds together. It's a little stronger up around the Nashville area, okay? But we'll have to see, did this zap a lot of energy out of Middle Tennessee and North Alabama? I mean, it's still pretty humid out there, a lot of buoyancy, okay? We'll have to see how much this feeds off of that. So this is for late evening into the early stage of the overnight, and this is currently what we'll have through about, say just after 8 o'clock, exiting off to the east pretty rapidly by then. So in the city, we're about to get a break in Chattanooga, break for several hours until we see how well this holds together for late into the evening hours. I'm going to minimize myself here just a little bit so you can see this a little bit better. As far as the threat levels tomorrow, here's the overall setup. There is a stalled frontal boundary here. Okay. It's going to sink down to the southeast just a little bit. So it's not going to be an all day washout tomorrow. In fact, there's times, like I said earlier, it's going to be partly sunny, but then you got to be aware of some rounds of storms. There'll be some that develop into the afternoon and some for the evening and into the overnight hours tomorrow night, but it's not continuously all day, all night. So the threat level tomorrow is kind of like what it was today. We had a level 2 all day long. And again, as I said yesterday, most of today would be hot and humid and highs near 90. And we did reach that until these storms arrive. So tomorrow, predominantly afternoon and evening, it's not an all day thing, but for your outdoor plans, go ahead and proceed, but stay weather alert, weather aware. Okay. Because afternoon and evening, some of those storms could get pretty rough. So almost a level 2 for tomorrow. Main threat levels for that of damaging wind gusts. Okay. All parts of our viewing area under 15% risk. That storms can provide some damaging wind gust. And the tornado threat is very low at 2%. That's kind of typically what you have when storms are like this. There's always that low end chance, but it is a low end chance. It's a lot lower than the damaging wind threat, but just keep that in mind. We are always monitoring, like we are tonight, for any tornado chance. And even tomorrow, again, chance that a few storms may provide some large hail about the size of a quarter. Probably not as large as what we had a couple of weeks ago. All right, so our future track high-res model does indicate the first cluster of storms moves away. There's going to be a bit of a gap between, say, 7 and 10 o'clock. But around 10 o'clock, we're going to watch that line that's out to the north and west start to move in south and east. The model does show that it's kind of a broken line by 11:30 to midnight, and then kind of weakening rather quickly. So it does show a weakening trend, but it's very, very slowly. I'll back this back up again. It's starting to show kind of a broken line around 11:30 to midnight, approaching maybe a little stronger over North Alabama, but then it does indicate a weakening trend shortly after midnight. So hopefully that second line is not as bad as what we've already had this evening, and then quieter the rest of the overnight hours. And again, here's the current radar view. We have one advisory locally and one warning locally. The one warning is here over Bradley and Polk. We'll go back over that in a second. And one advisory just south of there for exactly the same line. All the area north of the city is pretty loud out there. Athens, Inglewood, up to 10 Mile, but it's below severe levels. But still, you need to stay inside. When thunder roars, you head indoors. All right. Here's a loop over the past hour. So it's moving quite rapidly between 25 and 35 miles an hour. Again, in the city of Chattanooga, we got a break for a little while. So between now and sunset, it's cloudy, it's damp out there, but you need to go on an evening run, got to walk the dog, take a walk. Looks okay next little while. The city looks good. Ringgold, Lafayette, Fort Oglethorpe, Rossville, Whitwell, Jasper, looking good for the next couple hours. We'll keep an eye on that area off to the north and west, though. But here we go with that line of storms right along the Bradley and Polk County line. It's still pretty noisy north of there. You go from Calhoun, Tennessee to right along that Tri-County line between McMinn, Polk, and Bradley, but not as rough. This is the roughest part right here. So let's pause the radar. We'll take a look at the velocity scan inside that polygon. There was still some pretty strong wind gusts. You can still see it right there. I'll point it out for you. Right here, see that bright red? Mainly a straight line wind. Now earlier, see that little right there? And there was a little bit of broad rotation with that earlier cell about an hour ago, but I don't think anything transpired out of that, thankfully. And you see those strong wind gusts right about there, right approaching the county line. So let's zoom in just a little bit. Move the scope over just a bit. We're looking at the winds inside of that. So Look at some of these pockets of bright red, getting some wind gusts upwards around 40, just above the surface. So with that severe thunderstorm warning, there's always a chance that one of those gusts could reach severe levels, but at the very least, still a pretty nasty wind. And even though these areas right here, I mentioned this about 15, 20 minutes ago, from Calhoun to Athens to Inglewood, while not under a warning, still pretty noisy, pretty rough, heavy rain, a lot of lightning there. A lot of lightning here outside that warning polygon between Charleston, Tennessee, and Benton in Calhoun, Tennessee. You can see Etowah to Athens, east of Riceville, this whole area all the way to Inglewood. Pretty rough. Heavy rain, lots of lightning. No official warning out, but it's still a pretty nasty storm by the time to get inside. Same thing around Nyota. I know oftentimes we tend to focus on storm strength by the strength of the winds, and is there rotation? Is there any hail? But folks, right there, lightning, that is the biggest killer of all storms, and it is more common in storms, especially in the summertime when you have outdoor activities. When thunder roars, you head indoors. Remember the 30-30 rule. Okay, light travels faster than sound. So you see the lightning before you hear the thunder. So if, for every 5 seconds you count between a flash of lightning and a clap of thunder, that's 1 mile away in distance from you. So if you're able to count 30 seconds between a lightning flash and clap of thunder, okay, that'd be about 6 miles. That's a safe radius away. So the 30-30 lightning safety rule. Remember, be able to count 30 seconds or more between the last visible lightning strike and last audible clap of thunder. Or that it's been 30 minutes since the last clap of thunder before going back outside. Okay? So within this little cluster here across McMinn County, you can see some very strong gusts here in Nyota. Right along Highway 11, still some gust upwards of 40 to 50. Yeah, a little bit lower, just in that pocket. The wind goes in pockets there. So some very strong winds there in that eastern part of McMinn County. Let's go to southern McMinn County. Very heavy rain, a lot of lightning. Again, no warning there, but right about, pause that just for a second. A little bit of broad rotation there near Riceville, so it's a very strong storm. Kind of breaks up there near Riceville. We'll keep an eye on that. Gusts above the surface in that 40-mile-an-hour range. But again, when you see that red to green, I'll show it to you this way. Get that loop. Anytime you see that red to green, a broad rotation in the storm. So we'll keep an eye on that. That's to the east of Riceville, but still some very strong winds with that. No official warning out there, but hey, we're just showing it to you. It's still pretty rough out there. Just because it's not a warning doesn't mean it's not rough, okay? I'll show you the reflectivity scan there. Is that rolled on through? It's the velocity scan, excuse me. I'll go back to a different view here. You can see some strong gust. Went from Athens to Nyota there, so some very strong gusts accompanied that storm. And again, in and around Nyota, those are some strong gusts here. Let's see, the gust potential around 50 miles an hour. So you got a pocket of very strong wind right there near Nyota. And again, that's enough. You see where it moved through. It moved from Athens to Nyota. I mean, that's enough to bring down some trees. That could cause some structural damage when you see strong gusts like that. So from Athens and Iota, we'll watch some storm reports there because that's some very strong gusts there. Again, there's no warning there, but that is still some very strong wind gusts. The reason why we're showing you the velocity scan. Here it is one more time. See that little pocket right here? Get my cursor out right there. Kind of follow just around Athens to just around Iota. So we'll keep an eye on that. A lot of things to watch under the microscope with these storms moving in. Again, let's go and take a look at these winds with this warn cell. That's right along 411 now. Looks like Cleveland, it's now east of you. Still a lightning threat around Cleveland and South Cleveland. So it's all now east of Highway 60. And likewise, you can see some pockets of very heavy wind gusts right there along the Bradley Polk County line near Ocoee. Just to give you an idea here, some of the bright reds and 40 to 50 mile an hour gust above the surface. Still, that gust near Iota was stronger. And went from Athens to Iota. And again, this is below severe levels, but an advisory Cisco to Crandall here. The wind gusts weren't as strong a little while ago. Let's take a look at that. And likewise, you can see a little broad rotation. See that north of Crandall right there? A little bit of broad rotation for just a brief period there. So these are still pretty strong, well-developed storms, some strong gust with that. So we'll watch that. One gust upwards of 40, but still that little bit of rotation. I'll outline it here for you. This was a few minutes ago as it rolled through. I think it shows up better on the scope. There we go. Right about there. We're always, watching for that red to green a little bit, but it's very small, kind of weakens very quickly, but it does represent where some of those strong gusts were, right along 411 and just to the east. So you're still under that advisory. It's a step below severe thunderstorm warning, but heads up into the mountains there, bordering Fannin County. We'll keep an eye on that for you. Elsewhere from, say, 411 and westward, it's not too bad. Things are improving quite a bit. Ah, there it is. That warning just popped there. This is no surprise based on what we've been watching here. This is that cell near Iota, right? Okay, let's take a look at it. Severe thunderstorm warning now for southeastern Loudoun, northeastern McMinn, and southwestern Blount and northern Monroe County out till 8 o'clock Eastern time. That storm is moving rapidly east at 40. Could have 60 mile an hour wind gust and nickel-sized hail as it moves off to the east. Eastward movement at about 40 miles an hour. And again, that's where that little pocket of strong gusts were near Iota. Yeah, there it is. You still see it. So it's got some very strong wind gusts right along the McMinn-Monroe County line. And Weather Service indicated near Sweetwater, but really it's kind of right there. I'll back it up just a little bit. You see a real burst of wind near Iota, stretching eastward right near Tennessee Highway 68. And last check we did this scan, it was up to around 50 miles an hour. It's still close to 50, so it could cause some damage there. That's strong enough, and again, that's above the surface, and that's just one pocket. There may be individual pockets that are a little bit stronger. So again, here's the whole outline of that. It's for the far northeastern part of McMinn from Iota through Sweetwater and Madisonville. This out till 8 o'clock. Okay. And that is moving east at 40. I'm going to have to zoom out here. I was going to do a tracker for you, but it takes up a lot of real estate. So let's do the outline of that. Moving along that polygon east at 40. Here's an estimated timeline. They'll be racing out of the viewing area before 7:30, but Madisonville 7:06 in the next minute. Okay. You're already hearing it. You're like, yeah, I already know. Von Orr around 7:20. And way out towards Townsend. Goodness, by 8 o'clock. So it's racing quickly. So I would say between now and 7:30, it'll be through Northern Monroe. And going southward again, Athens to Inglewood to Etowah, man, it's pretty rough through there, folks. You're not under a warning, but that doesn't mean it's not rough. And that's why we're watching this for you. A lot of the warnings will isolate where the worst weather is, but still, this is pretty nasty. Right along Highway 30, right along 411. Let's take a look at some of the winds in here. Still some strong gusts coming out of Athens. No rotation noted, but still some very strong wind gusts accompanying that. Not quite as concentrated as that storm was near Nyota that was moving north and east. And pretty loud. Calhoun, Tennessee to Benton to Ocoee. Look at all that lightning. Again, it's outside that warning polygon, but still that's pretty rough. Okay. So right along 411, if you go Inglewood, Etowah, all the way down to Benton to Ocoee, time to go inside for a while. Looks like most of the warned storm is now out of Bradley County. So a lot of lightning in Bradley County, not squarely over Polk County. They'll probably put out an update here momentarily. Again, let's take a look at the winds inside of this. And that's the radius of the radar. That purple doesn't mean anything. Just letting you know that. Don't want anybody scared, okay? You can still see some very strong gusts right here, right along there where that radius line is. And some strong gusts here and there. But that purple is not indicating anything. And that line still stretches down to around Crandall, to around Chatsworth. And again, this advisory out for Northern Fannin, Northern Murray. It's out of Whitfield now. That is all moving to the east at 25. So here's a tracker on this part. Actually, let me do a tracker on this severe warned part first of all for the rest of Polk County, so they may have to extend this with time. But this warning is still out till the bottom of the half hour, 7:30. We'll see if they extend that in the next few minutes. But again, that's moving east at 35. So the storm's over western Polk. It'll be reaching Turtletown by 7:26. Copper Hill 7:20, passing through Blue Ridge, although it's not noted on the time scale here. And near Murphy by the top of the hour, 7:57. You're going to get some clusters of showers in Murphy before that, but that's when that line could have some stronger wind gusts move it in. And that gives you a broad overview of the entire viewing area. Just to show you again, cities like Dalton, Lafayette, Ringgold, Fort Oglethorpe, Chattanooga, Jasper, Whitwell, Mont Eagle, Scottsboro, you're going to get a break for a little while, for a couple hours. Okay, so things are a lot better. All of this here is starting to trend away to the east and northeast. And I think beyond the 8 o'clock hour, we'll be exiting out of our viewing area and this first cluster of storms will be gone. And then we'll focus on the area to the north and west where storms are starting to develop out in this area. So for late evening, it's going to be this activity. But again, these storms have zapped a lot of energy out of the atmosphere. So we'll have to see how these hold together. Okay. A lot of the future track high-res models for the late evening and early stages overnight do show a weakening trend. We hope that's the case. But again, I think for beyond 10 o'clock, the 10 o'clock hour and beyond, we'll have to deal with this scattering of shower storms here. But there's a sizable gap for a couple of hours from the city and westward. Okay. And here's a loop over the past hour showing you the storms moving by. Chatsworth, so some very heavy rain, a lot of wind, and 2 active warnings. One now over Polk. It's now moved out of Bradley. The other now in northeastern McMinn and northern Monroe County. Just drop the lid. So anyway, everybody, thanks for watching tonight. Hello, Misty. Thanks for watching. Hello, Jerry. Jerry says lots of thunder and rain between Athens and Inglewood. Tiffany says Athens just got a warning till 8 o'clock. Yeah, we covered that, but thank you. Randy is watching at Cisco. A lot of folks watching in Athens. Thanks for watching. And Crystalline says wind blowing hard in Chatsworth. And Stacy watching from Blue Ridge. So thanks for watching, everybody. Let me circle this again. I'm going to circle an area which is basically just west of Cleveland, including Dalton. All this area right in here looks good right now. Okay. So we're going to get a break for a little while through sunset. And then we'll keep an eye on the storms off to the north and west if they hold together. I don't think they'll be as strong as these. We'll have to wait and see, but I don't think they will. This based on some of the model trends. But we'll have to watch that, though. You know, anytime you deal with a stalled frontal boundary, there's enough upper level energy. But all this area circled is a lot better now. All right, let's go to that warned storm over McMinn, which I think the worst part of it's now moved out of McMinn. Well, worst part of where the polygon is. With that said, I want to point out something. Here's the extent of the polygon. This is still pretty rough around 411. So it's very loud, it's very noisy. Heavy rain, a lot of lightning, still some wind gusts there. But this is where the main polygon is. So where the severe polygon is still loud with lightning, but that's now passed out of that part of McMinn. And now this warned storm right between Sweetwater and 411 moving through Monroe County. So again, let's look at the velocity scan near Madisonville. There were some pockets of very strong wind gusts. We saw that near Nyota, and that prompted that warning. You see that burst just right there. And as it moves closer to Madisonville, right over Madisonville at the moment, gust potential was near 50. It's still upwards close to 40. That's just one little pocket. Let's check another little pocket there. Let's go back to the scope one more time. Before I got to Madisonville, there you go. It was still, around 50. So that's right over Madisonville now where that little pocket of stronger wind gust exists. So I would say by 7:30, that particular part of the line will probably be exiting out of northern Monroe. But central and southern Monroe, you got to deal with this southern part of the storm, which is still pretty nasty. So Tellico Plains, no warning yet, but we're watching this line right here that's moving east about 25, 35. So by 7:30, you're going to be catching some wind gusts, rain, a lot of lightning. So still pretty nasty. That warning has expired for Polk County and Bradley County. That's good. There's still an advisory now for that part. And that advisory does stay in effect until 7:30. And they extended this advisory that was for this cluster of storms entering Fannin County over all part of Fannin County until 8 o'clock Eastern. And again, wind gusts upwards of 40 to 50, lots of lightning. So it's just a little bit below severe levels. That's good, but still could bring down some trees. It's going to be passing over some higher terrain. So when you get the higher terrain, some of those valley pockets have some of that wind channel a little bit stronger. So you got to watch that. Moving to that line is to the east at 40. So we'll do a tracker on this line real quickly. So we'll go from Copper Hill down into Fannin County to just near Chatsworth, but still raining pretty heavily. So that particular line is moving east at 40. Here's just an estimated timeline. Copper Hill around 7:17. Okay. Crossing into Cherokee County near Hot House at 7:28. Murphy around 7:45. All the way as far east as Blairsville over in Union County. That's over near, Union and Towns County till 8 o'clock. So they're moving pretty rapidly. So Emily's asking about Athens. Are we done in Athens for now? Well, for the worst, yeah. Now it's still raining. So a lot of claps of thunder around Athens at the moment, and it's still going to rain through about 8 o'clock. But the worst of that is starting to move away, and you're going to get a break for a little while. But I give it to about 8 o'clock because there's still a lot of lightning, still some rain around, but it's not as bad as it once was. Still a lot of noise out there. The roughest with this cell here is now over Madisonville up to Von Orr. And again, this warning remains in effect till the top of the hour, 8 o'clock, roughly the next 44 minutes. So again, 2 areas that we're watching, just so you'll know for what to watch for the rest of the nighttime hours. We've got this cluster of storms here. That's moving away. And then we got this area north of Nashville and the southern flank of storms developing. There's a big question on how much energy got zapped out of the atmosphere from this line. This took out a lot, but it's still pretty humid out there. And plus you got upper level energy moving along the front. So it can still generate some storms. And it is doing so here. As far as severe thunderstorm warnings, there are no warnings on that line, which is good. The only warning locally is for that one over Monroe, but there are no warnings with these. We'll have to watch how they develop. So this will exit out of the viewing area just after 8 o'clock. Then we'll get a break. Around the city for the next couple of hours, things are okay. But around the 10 o'clock hour to about midnight, we'll watch what's left of this. High-res model does indicate some weakening with it. And we certainly hope that continues, but that's something we will keep an eye on for later on in the evening. And we, of course, will be on our Fox Chattanooga newscast at 10, News Channel 9 at 11, and we'll be streaming live on those platforms. And we'll keep updated on that second line coming in. Okay. This particular cluster of storms over DeKalb County, south of DeKalb County, that's trending more toward the east a bit. We'll watch that for Floyd County in Georgia. But again, Chattanooga, Dalton, Ringgold, Fort Oglethorpe, Rossville, Lafayette, Trenton, Whitwell, Jasper, South Pittsburgh, Mont Eagle, towards Scottsboro, things are okay for the time being right now. Most of the activity is now is east and northeast of the city. The worst is over Monroe County. It's still pretty noisy over Polk County. We'll watch what happened here. And that line exit out of Bradley, and the outflow helped spark some of these showers here. These aren't severe, but it's like, so does it stop more heavy rain near Cleveland? So again, it's the outflow from this developed that, and it's moving east. Chatsworth, you're about to get out of this very heavy rain, but it's torrential downpours right now. And again, at last check on the velocity scan, we showed us some very strong wind gusts near Madisonville. Let's check on that now. Still see some pockets of strong gust moving right along 411, right there. Still pushing close to 50 above the surface there. So pretty strong gusts. But it looks like the worst has passed Nyota. It is past Sweetwater, but still the 411 corridor is pretty nasty right now. It's about to edge away from Etowah and Inglewood. But Tellico Plains, you're in the soup there with the heavy rain and lightning. It's still pretty noisy around Etowah. I mentioned Inglewood, Etowah, Calhoun, Tennessee. So a lot of lightning in these areas, but the worst is now past you. Same thing in Polk County. It's still pretty noisy, a lot of lightning, but the worst about to pass you as all this approaches the state line with North Carolina on into Cherokee County. Expiration of that statement is at the bottom of the half hour, so that's coming up shortly. And this through Fannin County, again, some strong gusts of 40 to 50 with this line coming through. This advisory for most of Fannin, far northern Gilmer, out to the top of the hour, 8 o'clock. And I would say during the 8 o'clock hour, we're going to get a sizable break locally as things calm down for a little bit. Then we'll have another stream tracking later on during the 10 o'clock hour and beyond as we watch that secondary line. We'll see if that holds together. Let's take a look. First of all, we'll trend away from the radar just for a second. Let me take a look at any storm reports. Just show us any wind and hail reports around the southeast. Not many, at least not reported yet. Okay. But earlier in Grundy County, here's just one storm report. So wind damage about 5 o'clock Eastern. Trees down in Mont Eagle near the intersection of Baker and Melton Road. Now, we've had some other strong wind gusts elsewhere, but there's been no reported damage yet. That's just an idea of what some of the wind and damage reports have been like. Misty says lots of lightning in Madisonville. And again, Madisonville, you're still under that warning. They shortened the polygon. This is now moved out of McMinn County. And just on the eastern edge of Madisonville, just on the east edge of town, that polygon is now extending eastward where it's moving on through. So still a lot of lightning, as Misty correctly is mentioning there. And you can see that pocket of strongest gust right over the northeastern part of Monroe. It's that bright, bright red. And you can see it right there near Madisonville as it passed on through. And still some gust potential. That was still pretty nasty. We had gust potential around 50 when it moved through Madisonville, now moving closer and closer to the county line. But again, this remains in effect till 8 o'clock. I believe just after 7:30, that'll move pretty much northeast of Monroe County pretty rapidly. And still a lot of heavy rain. Spring City to 10 Mile up to Harriman. Dayton still raining. Sale Creek still raining. Pikeville still raining with some lightning, but again, not severe. And you can see the upper level winds. They're pushing it on along toward the east and northeast. Now breaking the city for now. Still a few showers percolating there. It's still very humid out there. So a few showers south of Rising Vaughn to about the state line. We'll keep an eye on if there's any upslope flow with Lookout, if that causes any more development in Walker County, but not severe. Heavy rain trending now away east of Chatsworth, just around Blue Ridge to Copper Hill, McKaysville. A lot of lightning there in and around McKaysville and Copper Hill. Let's look at the velocity scan here. There's no warning here, but, we've been tracking some strong wind gusts through here. And let's take a look at it. Well, you see right there. Right in here, a little broad rotation there near McKaysville, northwest of Blue Ridge. We'll watch that. Okay. A little broad circulation with that cell. Gusts near the surface 30 to 40. So we'll keep an eye on that. Heads up, just kind of stay inside, let the storm pass on by. But you can see right there near McKaysville on the velocity scan, a little broad rotation there. We'll keep an eye on that. Just be aware of that. That's in right along the Polk-Fannin County line. Always piques our interest there. Even just south of there. I'll move. Let me pause this a second. Move the scope just a little bit farther south. You can see southern part. Two little broad areas right there, and especially this right there. So we'll watch that for Copper Hill, McKaysville area. A little broad rotation with that storm. And there's no warning out. There's mainly an advisory, but still wind gusts of 40 to 50 are possible. And you can see it rapidly moving to the east. As I just mentioned, though, still it could be a little, still a pretty, just from a velocity point of view, a very broad area of circulation, broad area of rotation with the storm. So it's a pretty, it could be becoming a severe storm, but we'll watch that for you. Just heads up in that area. That's why we're here watching that. It's over there in Madola, Patterson Mill, Galloway Mill, and toward McKaysville. And not quite as pronounced as it once was, but just we'll keep an eye on that. Farther south, heavy rain finally ended in Chatsworth. It's headed straight along Highway 2 up the mountain there and into the higher terrain of eastern parts of Murray and northwestern parts of Gilmer. And I'm sure some strong upslope flow will be affecting that. And it's right along that beautiful drive between Chatsworth and Ellijay. Still around Tellico Plains, had a lot of rain and lightning. Same thing across northern Polk. This area remains not under warnings. This area does from, say, Madisonville, now east of Madisonville to about Von Orr. This warning out till 8 o'clock Eastern. It'll probably exit out of Monroe County well before that, but still some pockets of strong wind gust. So that bright red, still pushing north of 40 miles an hour. That's the only warning out at the moment. And again, all this other noisy activity, Sweetwater, 10 Mile, Decatur, this is all not severe, still pretty noisy with the roar of the rainfall and a lot of lightning. In and around Cleveland, the outflow from the previous cell has sparked this redevelopment of heavy rain, but not severe. But Cleveland to Hopewell up to Charleston, heavy rain coming in. Just a very humid, buoyant atmosphere out there. And again, just kind of keep an eye on this. I kept pointing that out a second ago on the velocity scan, and we'll do it again. It's a pretty nasty wind there. Some broad rotation there, not quite as pronounced as it once was, but still, that's some nasty wind gusts there. Yeah, it's pushing north of 40, close 40 to 50. That's why they put out that advisory. So strong wind gusts between Copper Hill, McKaysville, and across Fannin County west of Blue Ridge over the mountainous terrain. A lot of lightning accompanying that. Same thing to the south. Very heavy rain to the northwestern Gilmer between Ellijay and Chatsworth. Yes, Mandy, it is over in Chatsworth for the time being. That cell is now moving east of you into the mountains. Kelly says power is out in Harrison, north of Birchwood. Seems to lose it there a lot. I think every time we get storms, it tends, that area of like Snow Hill, Birchwood tends to lose power quite often. Marcia says about 15 minutes ago, trees down in Black Fox area, Bradley County. And Misty says starting to calm down in Madisonville, which is good. The lines that you see racing by indicate the upper level steering flow. Gives you an idea of where it's coming from and then where it's moving to. Okay. But you can see the outflow of some of these storms is starting to redevelop some pockets here in Dade and down to DeKalb County, though not severe. It may cause some more heavy downpours toward Lafayette. In around Fort Payne, same thing, though not severe. So we're getting a break from the really severe stuff. It may still rain a bit, but not quite as bad. But I was saying the 8 o'clock hour, we start seeing a lot of this trend away, at least this first round. And then we'll kind of take a break for a little while on the live stream, and then we'll keep an eye on what's happening farther off to the east, to the west, moving east. Again, I'll point this out again for those who may have just joined. Two areas we're watching for the next few hours. The line over us now, right here, around 8 o'clock, beyond 8 o'clock hour, it starts moving away. The secondary area we're going to watch is right here. The main piece of energy rolling by is a little bit stronger toward Nashville and up across the state line, but the southwestern flank of that line has got some storms, or has got some showers developing. As far as severity, not many warnings along that, which is good because this first line really took a lot of energy out of the atmosphere. That's why what's developing down here to the south is not quite as bad. Still providing some heavy downpours, and those repeated rounds can cause a lot of runoff, but not quite as severe. But we'll watch what happens here. So this will start exiting during the 8 o'clock hour. Bit of a break with non-severe activity, and then we'll watch this here, which are the high-res models do indicate between, say, 10 and midnight. What's left of that does move south and east, but then gradually weaken with time. And we certainly hope that's the case. So someone just asked, Nunu just asked, is the rain over for Chattanooga? Not yet. It is for now. It is for now. We'll go for a little while without it. It'll still be cloudy for a while, but we'll keep an eye on this for later evening. Okay. So we're not quite done for the night, but we're done for the short term in Chattanooga. Yes. Good question, though. And thanks for watching. All right, let's go back to that severe warned storm, which still remains in effect till top of the hour, although the worst part of that storm is exiting into Monroe County, and it's over. They just lifted that warning. That's good. So no more warning for Monroe County. Now, it's still pretty rough, but below severe levels. All right, let's go back to that area in Fannin County. They had an interesting look on the velocity scan. Just has some strong gusts with it. It still does. Up between Copper Hill, Blue Ridge, 45 to 50. That's why that advisory is out there. So still some strong wind gusts accompanying that going through the mountains there. And I'm sure with some of the upslope, even stronger. So there's an advisory here, that part of Fannin and northern Gilmer out till 8 o'clock Eastern because of the potential of 40 to 50 mile an hour gust. That is all moving east at 40 miles an hour. I'd say about 8 o'clock, it's exiting out of Fannin County. Murphy, you're getting some downpours, nothing severe, but some guard variety downpours and pretty noisy. A lot of lightning, though not severe. Cleveland, heavy rain redeveloping, so the roar on the rooftop, but you notice this cluster has, it's sans the lightning, so not much going on there. It's just another round of heavy rain. Just be careful traveling. And again, north of there, Riceville, Athens, Inglewood, Etowah, Decatur, Dayton, Spring City, it's still raining, though not severe. Okay, things will be improving, but it's still pretty noisy. Far northern McMinn, most of Monroe, but again, for the time being, we are warning free at the moment. All right, here's a few more of the storm reports that have come in. Let's take a look at this in Bradley County. So in the Old Fort area, just in the last hour, social media photos of trees down and power outages reported across the county. So that matches up with what a lot of you have been saying about Bradley County. And let's see. Over Bledsoe County, there's just reports that are reported to the National Weather Service. They've relayed to the public. In the Brayton area, just after 6 Eastern, trees and power lines down across that area in that southern part of Bledsoe County. And again, the other report was near Mount Eagle. There's some trees down there earlier this evening. So at the moment, no warnings locally, which is good. Strongest storms locally, at least with the strongest wind gust potentials right here just to the west of Blue Ridge. And we're starting to see a little more development here, Walker and Dade. It's not severe, but it's just kind of developing from the outflow of the previous storms. And you can see also a little, as it encounters the western brow of Lookout, little upslope flow, little added lift, helps those showers develop a bit more. So it's raining heavily right near the Macklemore Cove area. And some downpours around Rock Spring to south of Chickamauga over to Kensington, though not severe, just more rain. And that's moving into parts of Catoosa County. It's that little bit of terrain features there with the outflow from those storms causing that. Southward into DeKalb County, again, parts of Sand Mountain, there's still some stuff just kind of picking up here and there, but does appear to be severe. Near Center, Weiss Lake, hope everybody's off the lake. That's really nasty. All the way down to Piedmont, all the way down to Jacksonville, home of my alma mater, the Jacksonville State University. It's a great college. If you're considering college choice, Jack State. Love it there. And there's that heavy rain that'll be going through Walker County. Nothing severe with that, but some more heavy downpours. Just a very humid atmosphere out there. So any bit of outflow from storms can spark up that development there. Cleveland, same thing. You've had redevelopment of downpours from the previous storms. So this line is not severe. You're about to get a break. And north of the city, we haven't had to stay there too long because a lot of the warnings have expired. But Decatur, 10 Mile, occasional lightning, occasional heavy rain, though they're not severe. Same thing as Sweetwater. A lot of heavy rain with that. A lot of lightning, but the worst part of that storm moved away. That warning has expired from Monroe County. It allowed to expire early. Heavy rain exiting to the mountains of eastern Monroe County. Polk County near Copper Hill, things are improving quite a bit, but notice something here. Here, see how this line is bowing quite a bit right there? That means some strong wind gusts are accompanying that around Blue Ridge, and be aware of that also near Ellijay. You're just north of you there. So been looking at the velocity scan with that, and there's still some pretty strong wind gusts at bright red north of Blue Ridge. Let's zoom in there for a second. Pause it. So you said we had some gusts up to close to 50, and that's still above the surface, 45 to 50. Right along Georgia Highway 60 between Blue Ridge, McCaysville, and Copper Hill. It's moving pretty fast, so strong winds and rain accompanying that. A lot of lightning around Blue Ridge. And just north of Ellijay, same thing. Moving pretty quickly. So an advisory there out till, I believe, 8 o'clock for wind gusts of 40 to 50. I'd say beyond 8 o'clock, it'll be exiting out of Fannin pretty quickly. Looks like the heaviest rain will stay probably just north of Ellijay. You'll probably get some wind from that, but just north of the city of Ellijay, and move across northern Gilmer County. Murphy, very heavy rain over around Hayesville. A lot of lightning with that, though it's not severe, but along 64 and 129, slow going. So Cherokee and Clay County, some downpours and lightning, though not severe. We'll check updates from the Storm Prediction Center real quickly. They had hinted they might put out a watch for part of our viewing area several hours ago, but there was only like a 40% chance of that happening. I want to check on that activity to our west, though. Let's see. Yeah, I was looking at the Storm Prediction Center's update here, and let me zoom out and show you a bit. So we're watching the line of storms back here, and noted they still have a tornado watch out for this area, and I'll show you the watch coming up in a minute, but it's about to expire at 9 o'clock in the next hour. They don't anticipate keeping that out, but they do indicate that, we'll keep an eye on, and they are watching what's left of these right here, because there is some buoyancy there, some energy. Will these feed into that, or is this line of storm zap that out? So this is what we'll watch for late evening and overnight, in the early stage of the overnight, not all that long, but early stage of the overnight, for any of these becoming strong. A lot of the high-res models do indicate a weakening trend. We certainly hope that's the case. We'll keep an eye on that for the next little while. So the tornado watch out, nothing locally with that, okay? None of our viewing area under a tornado watch, but the watch is out for way back here northwest of Nashville. That expires at 9, but I think those counties may expire earlier than that, as of 9 Eastern. So no part of our viewing area under a watch, and no part of our viewing area under a warning at the moment, which is good. In the city, we're getting a little sun coming back. Time to go rainbow watching. We got the sun coming back on the western horizon, the rain exiting to the east. Have your back to the west, looking east. You might see some rainbows. If you do, send us in the pictures on our chime-in page at newschannel9.com. We'd love to see it. But again, just going to point out a couple of things. Strongest storm locally is in and around Blue Ridge, to just north of LJ. These are non-severe, but some really heavy downpours. North of Dalton, Rocky Face, down to south of Lafayette, but again, not severe at this time. All of these up in here, Athens to Spring City, northeast of Cleveland, again, not severe, heavy downpours of rain. Same thing, southern DeKalb County, not severe, occasional lightning and rain, but not severe. So we're getting a bit of a break right now, not like what it was a couple hours ago. Whew. Loxley asking about Saudi Daisy. Loxley and Saudi Daisy, things are looking good right now. As I mentioned, we'll watch that area farther back to the west for any redevelopment late evening in the early stage of the overnight, say around the 10 o'clock hour and later on. So we may not be done with rain yet, but we'll have to see if any of those become severe. There's going to be a gradual weakening trend through the night. We'll keep an eye on that, but that would be the next chance for you, is after the 10 o'clock hour near Saudi Daisy. There might be some redevelopment of rain also, as we're seeing some stuff redeveloping and outflow. But for right now, you're good in Saudi Daisy. Nothing dangerous right now. And you see these storms in around the Nashville metro area. Again, a lot of activity here north of I-40, but none is severe. No warnings with that. So again, that first line is really taking some energy out. And we're just now seeing the first warning associated with that southern flank of storms here that we were watching right there. So some of these still able to tap into some energy there. So one warning there. Northeastern Mississippi and far southern Middle Tennessee, but the others are not severe. But this is the next line we'll watch for later on this evening. Over the next couple of hours, it'll be this line to watch. Say beyond 9 into the 10 o'clock hour. That's the only warning at the time with that line. We hope we don't start seeing that trend of more warnings showing up. That's still, just to give you an idea, that's still, goodness. That's still 140 miles away. But see, they just put out another warning for that part of northwestern Alabama. That's still about 140 miles away. So again, that's later on to the evening hours. We'll watch, see if any of that holds together. It'll be more isolated than it was more scattered that we had earlier on this evening. So we'll start south to north locally. Rain, lightning, Sand Mountain area, but none is severe. Most of the heavier storms are just to the southeast of DeKalb County, but keep in mind your Rome. You have some of these storms in your center moving your way, moving east, and that may cause some rain and lightning, but it's staying just below severe levels. But in Floyd County and your Rome, just be aware of that coming your way. Now, from south of Lafayette to about just between Varnell and Dalton, bursts of heavy rain, nothing severe with that. Everything now from Ocoee to Calhoun, Tennessee, to Athens, to Nyota, to Inglewood, Sweetwater, Tellico Plains. Still a lot of lightning, especially in Monroe County, though not severe. Lightning tapering off in Meigs and McMinn, not severe. A lot of lightning around Murphy. As I mentioned, it's not a severe storm, but it's a noisy one. If you could issue a noisy thunderstorm warning, that'd be one right now. But remember the lightning threat and stay inside. Thunder roars, head indoors. It's right along the Cherokee and Clay County line. So Hayesville, you got some heavy rain coming your way. Right along 64. Again, that line we were watching kind of break it up a bit between Blue Ridge and Ellijay. I think the worst of the wind has passed Blue Ridge now. Take a look at the velocity scan again. We've been tracking that. Yeah, those bursts of stronger wind gusts are almost on the eastern edge of Fannin County, right there. 40, 50 mile an hour gust right there. This advisory out till the top of the hour, 8 o'clock. And you can still see again, I'll move the scope down, and northern part of Gilmer County, still a broad rotation of the storm there. We'll keep an eye on that. But right along the Gilmer and Fannin County line, we've seen some pockets of that show up. So we'll watch that. And your Ellijay heavy rain and some strong gusts. But we'll keep an eye on what's showing up there on the velocity scan, kind of a broad rotation there. And they just showed, they just put out an advisory here. This is for that, what we just showed you. Strong thunderstorm over Cherry Log, about 7 miles southwest of Blue Ridge. Moving east at 25. The south at 815 for specifically southeastern Fannin County and northeastern Gilmer. 40 to 50 mile an hour wind gust. Frequent cloud to ground lightning. So Blue Ridge, East Ellijay, Dial, Pisgah, Georgia, not Alabama, Pisgah, Georgia, and the Hearst community could be impacted by this as it moves across the northeastern part of Gilmer and the that southern part there of Fannin County. And as we just noted on the velocity scan, there's some right in that area where they just mentioned. There's a little broad rotation, so pockets, some strong wind gusts there, prompting that advisory right along the Fannin and Gilmer County line. And things are improving east and northeast of the city, though again, in Murphy to Hayesville, heavy rain and lightning still ongoing there. So again, folks, what we will watch moving forward here, we're going to watch two things. First, we've got the line of storms over us now, which extends all the way down to here. Okay, that is all now moving away to the northeast during the 8 o'clock hour to continue exiting out of the viewing area. Okay. Then we'll watch this second band for later this evening. I'd say in the 10 o'clock hour and beyond. It's right here. There's a couple of warnings on that in far, far northeastern Mississippi, northwest Alabama. The others, no warnings with it, but we'll keep an eye on if that holds together. This will provide us our next chance for some showers and storms late evening and through the early stage of the overnight hours, 10 to midnight and just shortly after that. Long-range models, or excuse me, short-range models for the long term of the next several hours do indicate a gradual weakening trend. We certainly hope that continues, but again, that daytime heating is still ongoing, a few warnings in those areas. And this front's going to be stalled over us through tomorrow, meaning tomorrow about the same thing as today. So let me stress tomorrow, your Saturday forecast. You've seen it all week. We've had scatter storms in the forecast. It's not an all-day chance of rain, okay? I think tomorrow is going to be much like today. Clouds early, then partly sunny and pretty hot and humid. Temperatures upper 80s, but during the afternoon and evening, as noted here, you do want to be aware that some storms could become strong to severe. It won't be continuous. It won't be equal all areas locally, but there's that level 2 slight risk that during the afternoon to the nighttime hours, some storms could be strong to severe. Main threat level being for that a damaging wind gust, okay? And also a low-end tornado risk for tomorrow, similar to today. Anytime you have storms like this, there's always going to be that low-end chance. There are higher odds of damaging wind gusts, but you also need to be mindful that a couple of storms could produce that. And of course, some quarter-size hail with some of the storms as well. So here's a high-res model taking us to about 10 o'clock. Again, this is not the current radar, this is a high-res model. This is that line to the west. During the 10 o'clock hour, it may move a little farther east, but that shows you around 10 o'clock. And then toward 11:30, 11:45, it's kind of a broken line from Pikeville to about Fort Payne. And then during the midnight hour, shifts eastward rather quickly, and by 1:30, 1:45, it's exiting to the south and east. So again, it's not going to last all night long, but between 10 and midnight, we'll keep an eye on that as it moves on through. That's that line that's to well west of I-65, that second line. As far as tomorrow, this takes us to about lunchtime tomorrow. It's going to start partly sunny, pretty hot and humid. So there'll be times you can go to the pool, times you can go to the lake. However, you need to have a backup plan, already planned, because when these storms develop, you're going to have to scurry off the lake, get inside from the pool pretty quickly. But I'd say during the afternoon hours, be aware some scatter storms could develop. This particular model favors an early to mid-afternoon round, okay? But it also shows it does move out. So by late afternoon, early evening, things do improve. So it's going to be impacting parts of your day, but not all of the day. But when it is impacting, it could be pretty rough. And then potentially overnight, Saturday night, another round could move on by overnight, Saturday night through early Sunday. And really, Sunday is not bad. There'll be some showers early, but the rest of the day, Sunday, looks pretty good. Partly sunny in mid-80s, so kind of breezy. So Sunday looks a little bit better, but Saturday's not all day. It's predominantly during the afternoon and evening when some rounds of storms can move by. So you can do outdoor activities. Just be mindful of that threat. Once again, locally, and we'll break away from this live stream in about the next 5 minutes, top hour, 8 o'clock, as severe threat locally is dying down. It's going to give us time to take a little bit of a break, and then we'll, have our coverage starting on Fox Chattanooga at 10, which streams live on foxchattanooga.com, so you can watch it on your mobile device. Also, News Channel 9, 11 to 11:35, also streaming at newschannel9.com, and when necessary on our social media pages after those news times. But for now, things are a little bit quieter. The one storm to watch, strongest locally, is right along the Fannin and Gilmer County line, right just south of Blue Ridge to about Ellijay. Here's a velocity scan. You can see a little pocket there of what broad rotation with the storm. I mean, it's a pretty decent sized storm. Got some strong wind gusts. We'll keep an eye on that right along the Gilmer and Fannin County line just south of Blue Ridge. That has prompted an advisory out to 8:15 for that part of northeastern Gilmer and the southeastern part of Fannin County. Really looks like the southwestern part. But anyway, it's for that southern stretch of the county that goes down to the south. 40 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts. That storm is moving to the east at 25 and could have pea-sized hail with it. So let me show you real quickly as we do just a brief tracker on that for the rest of that county. So it's going to get out of, here's the Dial community, right at the top of the hour, and Three Forks. That's still in southern Fannin, around 8:20. So expect some strong wind gusts, heavy rain, and lightning with that. Again, farther to the west. Yeah, we got some pockets of heavy rain, but it's not severe. Not severe. A little lightning showing up here on the Walker-Chattooga County line. Heavy rain, Calhoun and Resaca. Got some downpours near Dalton, over to Rocky Face, south of Boynton area, near Rock Spring. But these are not of a severe nature. It's just more downpours. It tells you how humid it is out there. And you step outside, you feel it. It's like opening up a dishwasher. And we'll go to the north a little bit. Again, off and on showers occurring, though not severe. Still some gust here, pretty strong east of Tellico Plains to Von Orr, but that's getting into the mountainous area and into the neighboring areas of Blount County. Cherokee County, North Carolina, some pretty heavy downpours of rain from Brasstown to Murphy, although the worst is now passing away from Murphy. Hayesville, some heavy rain, and you're going to get kind of a 1-2 punch with that. Some heavy rain here and a little bit more coming in from the south and west over near Ivy Log, moving your way. But we were watching Copperhill, McKaysville. That's now moved away from you. You're hearing thunder in the distance. And the strongest part of that cell right along the Fannin-Gilmer County line between now and 8:15. And then beyond 8:15, it'll exit out of southern Fannin. It's about to edge away from LJ. And it is moving away from Blue Ridge itself. Hannah asking about Chatsworth. Well, Chatsworth, you're going to have some downpours coming your way in the next 15, 20 minutes, but not severe, but be aware of that. Okay. Some downpours around Sugar Valley, Resaca, Calhoun. Rain, a little noisy, a little lightning strike there in around Chattooga County, though not severe. And for Rome, that storm we mentioned a few minutes ago, center, moving across the state line along Highway 20 and Highway 411. They'll be approaching that part of Floyd County and far southern Chattooga with rain and lightning. So be aware south of Somerville, some rain and lightning crossing over Taylor's Ridge there, but not severe. Fort Payne, same thing. Some rain, lightning, though not of a severe nature. So as the severe threat dies down and we approach the 8 o'clock hour, I remind you we're going to take a break here from our live stream. We'll keep an eye on what's happening to our west. And again, there's still some downpours going on, but it's not severe. If anything does change, we'll, of course, rejoin our live stream. But for now, things are a bit calmer. So, again, let's we're going to regroup here and stop this live stream. But we'll be watching for you. And we'll be watching that 10 o'clock to midnight time frame where that next line of showers and storms can move in. We'll see if it holds together or if the energy that we've had previously zaps a little bit of energy out of that. What we're watching again, I'll show you one more time for the rest of the evening. This is what has just moved through. Okay. It's this line right here that we'll be watching for the close to the 10 o'clock hour. 10 to midnight and just after midnight, watching this right here. There are a few isolated strong storms along it. And we'll see if any of the energy has been zapped out by these storms or if it holds together. Models do show some storms with it, then a gradual weakening trend after midnight, but that's what we'll be watching for late evening. And then if they're early shade to the overnight hours. That's the round 2 there. All right. So everybody, thanks for watching this live stream. We'll have more streams as necessary throughout the rest of the evening hours, but join me again coming up Fox Chattanooga at 10 for a live radar forecast update. Same thing on News Channel 9 at 11. Okay. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll have more streams when necessary as storms threaten. Have a great night, a great weekend, but stay safe.